Jake Morrison stared at the star charts on his ship's main screen. The warning lights blinked red around the Sol system. Every spacefarer in the galaxy knew about Sector 7X. Nobody went there. Nobody talked about going there. The Federation had made that very clear 200 years ago. His ship Starbound drifted near the edge of the Forbidden Zone. Morrison was supposed to be mining asteroids in the nearby Centauri belt. Easy work that paid well. His crew of 3 had been doing this for months without any problems. Dr. Lisa Chang worked at her science station. She studied alien plant life from different worlds. The Federation paid good money for new discoveries. Lieutenant Ryan Cooper sat at the weapons console. He used to be Federation military before joining Morrison's crew. Navigator Amy Torres plotted their course through the asteroid field. The ship's radio crackled with static. Morrison almost ignored it. Space was full of strange signals from dead stars and cosmic storms. But this signal was different. It had a pattern. "Captain, are you hearing this?" Torres asked. She had stopped her work to listen. Morrison turned up the volume. The static cleared for a moment. Through the noise came words, human words. "Help us. Anyone out there? This is Earth calling. We need help." Chang dropped her data pad. Cooper spun around in his chair. Torres grabbed Morrison's arm. "That's impossible," Cooper said. "Earth has been dead for 2 centuries. Morrison had heard the stories like everyone else. In 2156, a terrible plague had killed every human on Earth. The planet became poisoned. Any ship that went close never came back. The Federation put up warning beacons and made the whole system off-limits. But Morrison was human. His grandparents had come from one of the early colony ships that left Earth before the plague. There were humans scattered across many worlds now. They all remembered Earth as their first home. The signal came again. "Stronger this time. This is Earth Defense calling any Federation ships. We have an emergency. Please respond." Morrison looked at his crew. They all stared back at him. Chang's hands shook as she reached for her scanner controls. "I'm picking up energy readings from Earth," she said. Her voice was quiet. "Very strong readings. There are cities down there. Active cities." Torres checked her navigation computer 3 times. "We're definitely looking at Earth. Sol system, 3rd planet. But the readings show massive population centers." Cooper studied his weapons display. "Captain, I'm detecting defense satellites around the planet. Hundreds of them. Technology I've never seen before." Morrison felt his heart beating fast. Everything they knew about Earth was wrong. The planet wasn't dead. Humans were alive down there. They were calling for help. "Sir, what are your orders?" Cooper asked. Morrison knew the rules. Federation law said anyone who entered Sector 7X would lose their license. They might even go to prison. But those were his people down there. Humans, like him calling for help. "Set course for Earth," Morrison said. "Captain, that's crazy," Cooper said. "We could all die. We don't know what happened to those other ships." "They're human," Morrison said. "We can't just leave them." Torres started plotting the course. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. "It will take us 6 hours to reach Earth orbit." Chang began scanning the planet more carefully. "The energy signatures are incredible, much more advanced than anything the Federation has. But they're definitely human in origin." Morrison sat in his captain's chair and watched the view screen. Earth grew larger as they approached. He could see blue oceans and green continents. White clouds swirled in the atmosphere. It looked beautiful and alive. Why would the Federation lie about Earth being dead? Torres asked. "Maybe they didn't lie," Chang said. "Maybe something else happened, something they didn't understand." Cooper kept watching his security screens. "Whatever happened, these humans have been busy. I'm counting at least 50 major cities. Each one has population in the millions. As they got closer, Morrison saw space stations orbiting the planet. They were huge and built with technology he had never seen. Ships moved between the stations and the planet's surface. The ships had smooth curves and seemed to glow with their Own light. Incoming transmission, Torres said. The main screen flickered. A human face appeared. The man looked young, but his eyes seemed very old. He wore a uniform Morrison didn't recognize. Unknown vessel. This is Commander Ben Hayes of Earth Defense. You have entered restricted space. State your business. Morrison stood up. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the independent ship Starbound. We received your distress signal. Hayes looked confused. We sent no distress signal. Our communications are restricted to emergency channels only. We heard someone calling for help, Morrison said. They said this was Earth calling. Hayes was quiet for a long moment. Morrison could see him talking to someone off screen. Captain Morrison, you and your crew are in great danger. Not from us, but from what's coming. You need to dock with Station Alpha immediately. We have much to discuss. The transmission ended. Morrison looked at his crew. They all had the same question in their eyes. Torres, take us to that station, Morrison said. As Starbound approached the space station, Morrison realized his life was about to change forever. Earth wasn't dead. Humans had been living here for 2 centuries, and something big was coming that scared them enough to break their silence. The station's docking bay opened. Inside, Morrison could see humans moving with unusual speed and grace. Their movements seemed too quick and too smooth to be natural. Whatever had happened to Earth's humans in the last 200 years, they had changed. Morrison just hoped they were still human enough to trust. The docking bay sealed behind Starbound with a soft hiss. Morrison watched through the view screen as humans in strange uniforms worked around his ship. They moved faster than any human should be able to move. Their actions were perfectly coordinated, like they were sharing the same thoughts. Captain, those people are human, but their life signs are unusual, Chang said. She stared at her medical scanner. Their brain activity is off the charts. Heart rate and breathing are much slower than normal. Cooper checked his weapons one more time. Whatever they did to themselves, they're still human enough to bleed. Morrison opened the airlock. The station's air smelled clean and fresh. It reminded him of mountain air back on his home colony. 3 humans waited for them. One stepped forward. Captain Morrison, I'm Commander Ben Hayes. Welcome to Earth. Hayes looked like a normal human, but Morrison noticed his eyes. They seemed to glow slightly in the station's light. When Hayes moved, it was with perfect balance and control. Commander Hayes, we need answers, Morrison said. The galaxy thinks Earth is dead. We've been told no humans live here anymore. Please, follow me to the briefing room. Your questions will be answered. Hayes led them through corridors filled with amazing technology. The walls seemed to be alive with flowing patterns of light. Other humans they passed all had that same strange glow in their eyes. The briefing room had a large table and chairs that seemed to grow from the floor. Hayes gestured for them to sit. What you're about to learn must never leave this room without our permission, Hayes said. The safety of every living thing in this galaxy depends on it. Chang leaned forward. What happened to Earth? Why does everyone think you're all dead? Hayes touched the table. Images appeared in the air above it. They showed Earth as it was 200 years ago. Cities, people, normal human civilization. In 2156, our scientists made the greatest discovery in human history, Hayes said. They learned how to merge human consciousness with quantum energy fields. The process allowed humans to transcend normal biological limits. The images changed. They showed humans with glowing eyes working with technology that seemed to respond to their thoughts. We could think faster, move quicker, live longer. We could interface directly with computers and machines. We became something more than human, but still human at our core. Morrison watched the images. Why did you fake your deaths? Because the Federation was afraid of us, Hayes said. When they learned about our experiments, they demanded we stop. They said enhanced humans were too dangerous. They threatened to destroy Earth if we continued. Cooper sat up straight. So you chose to disappear instead of fight. We chose to survive and grow stronger, Hayes said. The Federation suggested we stage our own extinction. They even helped create the plague. Story. It was easier for them to believe we were dead than to accept what we had become. Torres studied the images. But why hide for 200 years? You could have revealed the truth any time. Hayes's expression grew serious. Because we knew something. The Federation didn't. Our enhanced consciousness allowed us to see patterns across space and time. We saw what was coming. New images appeared. They showed dark shapes moving between stars. The shapes were huge and seemed to absorb light itself. The Devourers, Hayes said. Ancient beings made of pure energy. They consume entire star systems. They've already destroyed 3 galaxies. Now they're coming here. Chang stared at the images. How long do we have? 6 months. Maybe less. Their advanced scouts have already entered our galaxy. A Federation patrol encountered them last week. The entire fleet was destroyed in minutes. Morrison felt cold. What can we do against something like that? Hayes stood up. We've spent 200 years preparing. Enhanced human consciousness is the only thing that can fight them. Our minds can disrupt their energy patterns, but we can't do it alone. You need the Federation's help, Cooper said. We need every species in the galaxy working together. The defense requires a unified consciousness network across multiple star systems. Normal brains can't handle the quantum processing required. Morrison realized what Hayes was saying. You want to enhance other species like you enhanced humans. It's the only way. But first, the galaxy has to accept that we exist, that we've been protecting them in secret for 2 centuries. Chang looked confused. Protecting them how? Hayes smiled. It was the first normal human expression Morrison had seen from him. How do you think the Galactic Wars ended so quickly 50 years ago? Who stopped the Zetan plague from spreading beyond their home system? Why do you think terrorist attacks on Federation worlds always fail at the last minute? You've been interfering in galactic politics, Torres said. We've been preventing disasters. Our enhanced agents can move through normal society without detection. We've stopped dozens of wars and saved billions of lives. Morrison stood up and walked to the window. Below them, Earth stretched out like a blue and green jewel. Cities floated above forests. Ships moved silently through the atmosphere. Show us, Morrison said. Show us what humanity has become. Hayes nodded. We'll take you to the surface, but first, you need to understand something important. The consciousness enhancement process is permanent. Once begun, there's no going back to normal human awareness. Cooper frowned. Are you asking us to become like you? I'm asking you to become humanity's first ambassadors to the galaxy in 200 years. You'll need enhanced consciousness to survive what's coming. But the choice is yours. Morrison looked at his crew. Chang was excited by the scientific possibilities. Torres seemed curious about the navigation applications. Cooper looked worried, but determined. If we do this, we can help save the galaxy? Morrison asked. You can help us try, Hayes said. But understand the risk. If we fail, every living thing in this galaxy will be consumed. There will be nothing left but empty space. Morrison made his decision. His crew had followed him into the Forbidden Zone. They would follow him further if needed. Show us Earth, Morrison said. Show us what we need to become. Hayes activated a transportation device. Light surrounded them all. When the light faded, they were standing on Earth's surface under an alien sky filled with floating cities and impossible technology. Morrison stood on grass that felt more real than any grass he had ever touched. The air was perfect, clean and fresh, with just the right amount of moisture. Above them, a city floated in the sky like a cloud made of crystal and light. Welcome to New Geneva, Hayes said. One of our smaller research cities. Chang knelt down and touched the ground. The soil is alive. I can feel energy flowing through it. It's like the entire planet is one big organism. In a way, it is, Hayes said. When we enhanced human consciousness, we also learned to connect with the planet itself. Earth and its people are now linked at the quantum level. Torres looked up at the floating city. How does it stay up there? Gravity manipulation, Hayes said. When your mind can interface directly with quantum fields, many things become possible. A young woman approached them. She looked normal except for her eyes. They glowed with soft blue light. When she walked, her feet barely seemed to touch the ground. Commander Hayes, Dr. Rodriguez is ready for the demonstration, she said. Morrison noticed the woman hadn't spoken out loud. Her lips hadn't moved. But they had all heard her clearly. Telepathy? Cooper asked. Hayes nodded. Enhanced consciousness includes direct mind-to-mind communication, very useful in combat situations. They followed Hayes through a park filled with trees that grew in impossible spirals. Flowers changed colors as they walked past. Animals that looked like deer but with silver fur grazed peacefully. We didn't just enhance ourselves, Hayes explained. We enhanced all life on Earth. Everything here has been improved and connected to the planetary consciousness network. Chang stopped to examine a flower that was bright purple one moment and gold the next. This is incredible. You've created a perfect ecosystem. We had 200 years to get it right, Hayes said. They reached a building that seemed to grow from the ground itself. Its walls were smooth and white like pearl. Inside, the rooms were filled with soft light that came from everywhere and nowhere. Dr. Elena Rodriguez waited for them in a large laboratory. She was older than Hayes, but moved with the same enhanced grace. Her eyes glowed brighter than the others Morrison had seen. Captain Morrison, Rodriguez said without speaking, aloud. Her voice appeared directly in his mind. I understand you want to see what we've become? Morrison nodded. He found he couldn't speak. The direct mental contact was overwhelming. Rodriguez smiled and switched to normal speech. I apologize. Telepathic contact can be jarring for unenhanced minds. Let me show you our capabilities the traditional way. She walked to a wall covered with complex machinery. Instead of using controls, she simply touched the wall. The machines came alive immediately. Watch carefully, Rodriguez said. The room around them changed. Suddenly they were standing in space above Earth. Morrison could see the planet below and the stars above. But he knew they were still in the laboratory. Quantum projection, Rodriguez explained. Enhanced consciousness can manipulate space-time. On a local level, we can create windows into other places and times. The view changed again. Now they were looking at a Federation fleet in deep space. Morrison recognized the ships as heavy cruisers. This is happening right now, 300 light-years from here, Rodriguez said. As they watched, dark shapes emerged from empty space. The shapes were huge and seemed to absorb all light around them. The Federation ships opened fire, but their weapons passed right through the dark entities. The Devourers, Hayes said quietly. The dark shapes moved toward the Federation fleet. As they touched each ship, the vessels simply disappeared, not destroyed, just gone as if they had never existed. They consume matter and energy, Rodriguez explained. They turn entire civilizations into food for their journey across the universe. The projection ended. They were back in the laboratory. Cooper looked shaken. How many ships did we just watch die? 15,000 crew members, Rodriguez said. Gone in less than 5 minutes. Morrison felt sick. And this is what's coming for our galaxy? This was just a scouting force, Hayes said. The main fleet has millions of Devourers. They'll reach Federation space in 6 months. Chang studied the laboratory equipment. What kind of weapons can fight those things? Rodriguez activated another machine. This time, the projection showed Earth's orbital defenses. Ships unlike anything Morrison had seen before moved through space. They seemed to phase in and out of reality. Quantum disruption weapons, Rodriguez said. Enhanced human consciousness can directly interfere with the Devourer's energy patterns. We can make them solid enough to destroy. Torres watched the ships, carefully. But you need people to operate them. We need enhanced consciousness to operate them, Hayes corrected. Normal minds can't process the quantum calculations required. Morrison was beginning to understand. You want to enhance other species, turn them into something like you. Not like us, Rodriguez said. Enhanced for their own species. Humans aren't the only beings capable of consciousness expansion. Most species can be improved if they're willing. Cooper crossed his arms. What if they're not willing? Then they die when the Devourers arrive, Hayes said simply. We can't protect the entire galaxy by ourselves. Rodriguez led them to another room. This one contained a strange chair surrounded by floating crystals. This is a consciousness enhancement chamber, she said. The process takes about 6 hours. It's painless, but irreversible. Morrison looked at the chair. What exactly would happen to us? Your brains would be quantum enhanced, Rodriguez explained. You'd think faster, see patterns, in space and time, interface directly with technology. You'd still be human, but more than you are now. Chang stepped closer to the chair. Would we be able to go back to normal society? Enhanced humans can easily pass for normal, Hayes said. We've had agents living among other species for decades. The enhancement is invisible unless we choose to reveal it. Torres had a different question. Why should we trust you? How do we know you're still human inside? Rodriguez laughed. It was a warm, completely human sound. Because we still care. About the same things humans have always cared about. Love, family, protecting those who can't protect themselves. Hayes nodded. The enhancement doesn't change who you are. It just makes you more capable of being who you've always been. Morrison walked around the chamber. If we do this, what happens? Next? You become our ambassadors to the Federation, Rodriguez said. You help us convince other species to accept enhancement. You help coordinate the defense against the Devourers. Cooper studied the crystals around the chair. And if the Federation refuses to listen? Hayes's expression became grim. Then we save who we can and let the rest face the Devourers alone. But millions of innocent beings will die unnecessarily. Morrison looked at his crew. They had come looking for answers about a distress signal. Instead, they had found humanity evolved beyond recognition and a threat that could destroy everything. The choice before them was simple but terrifying. Become something more than human or watch the galaxy burn. Morrison stepped toward the enhancement chamber. I'll go first, he said. Morrison sat in the enhancement chamber. The crystals around him began to glow with soft blue light. He felt no pain, just a strange tingling sensation that started in his head and spread through his entire body. Relax, Captain, Rodriguez said. Let the quantum field do its work. Morrison closed his eyes. The tingling became stronger. He could feel something changing in his mind. Thoughts that had always been slow and clumsy suddenly became clear and fast. Chang watched from across the room. His brain activity is increasing dramatically. Neural pathways are forming at an incredible rate. The crystals pulsed brighter. Morrison opened his eyes and gasped. He could see things that hadn't been there before. Energy patterns flowing through the walls, quantum fields that connected everything in the room. The thoughts of his crew members appeared as colored lights around their heads. I can see your minds, Morrison whispered. That's normal, Hayes said. Enhanced consciousness perceives reality at a much deeper level. Morrison stood up from the chair. His body felt different, stronger, faster, more balanced. When he moved, the motion felt perfect and effortless. How do you feel? Torres asked. Morrison considered the question. His enhanced mind processed dozens of possible answers in a split second, but the core feeling was simple. I feel like myself, he said. Just more so. Chang stepped forward. My turn. The enhancement process was the same for each of them. One by one, Morrison watched his crew members transform. Their eyes began to glow with soft light. Their movements became graceful and precise. When Torres finished her enhancement, the four of them stood together in silence. Morrison could feel their thoughts connecting to his own. Not reading their minds exactly, but sensing their emotions and intentions. This is incredible, Chang said. Her voice carried wonder and excitement. Cooper flexed his hands. I can feel the quantum structure of matter itself. The enhancement is just the beginning, Rodriguez said. Now you need to learn how to use your new abilities. Hayes led them to a training facility. The room was empty except for floating platforms and obstacles that seemed to shift position constantly. Enhanced humans can interface directly with technology, Hayes explained. Watch. He approached a wall panel. Instead of touching controls, he simply placed his hand on the surface. The room around them changed into a vast space filled with moving targets. Your turn, Hayes said to Morrison. Morrison walked to the panel. He could see the quantum connections between his mind and the machinery. When he touched the surface, he felt the computer's circuits responding to his thoughts. The room shifted again. Now it was filled with floating ships that moved in complex patterns. Impressive, Rodriguez said. Most people need weeks to learn that level of interface control. Chang experimented with a different panel. She created a laboratory space filled with alien plants and animals. Each one responded to her mental commands. I can control the molecular structure of living tissue, she said with amazement. Torres worked with navigation systems. She could plot courses through space-time that normal computers couldn't calculate. Cooper discovered he could enhance weapons and defensive systems just by thinking about them. Now for the real test, Hayes said. He led them outside to a landing pad where several ships waited. These vessels were unlike anything Morrison had seen. They had smooth, organic curves and seemed to pulse with their own inner light. Quantum. Fighters, Hayes explained. They require enhanced consciousness to operate. Normal pilots can't handle the quantum processing required. Morrison approached the nearest ship. As he got closer, he could feel it responding to his presence. The hull seemed to recognize him. Go ahead, Hayes said. Touch it. When Morrison placed his hand on the ship's surface, everything changed. His consciousness merged with the vessel's quantum brain. He could feel its power systems, its weapons, its ability to phase through space-time. It's alive, Morrison said. Not alive exactly, Rodriguez explained. But it has a quantum consciousness that mirrors your own. Pilot and ship become one entity. Chang touched another ship. Her enhanced mind immediately grasped the biological systems integrated into the vessel. These ships can repair themselves, she said. They're part machine, part living organism. Torres interfaced with a navigation ship. I can see hyperspace corridors that don't appear on any Federation charts. Cooper connected with a heavily armed fighter. These weapons can disrupt matter at the quantum level. Hayes nodded approvingly. You're learning quickly. Most enhanced humans need months to develop this level of integration. Why are we different? Morrison asked. Because you're the first outsiders to be enhanced in 2 centuries, Rodriguez said. Your minds were already adapted to working with different technologies and alien environments. A communication alert sounded across the landing pad. Hayes received the message directly through his neural interface. The Federation Council has called an emergency session, he said. They've learned about the Devourer attack on the patrol fleet. Morrison felt the significance of the moment through his enhanced awareness. It's time to reveal ourselves. Not yet, Hayes said. First, you need to see something that will help you understand what we're really fighting for. He led them to another ship. This one was larger and designed for long-distance travel. We're going to take you to see the Devourer front lines, Hayes said. "You need to understand exactly what's coming." They boarded the ship. Morrison sat in the pilot's seat and felt his consciousness merge with the vessel's quantum brain. Flying became as natural as walking. The ship lifted off silently. Within moments, they were in space above Earth. Morrison could see the planet's orbital defenses more clearly now. Thousands of ships and space stations formed a protective grid around the world. "Engaging quantum drive," Torres said from the navigation station. Space around them shifted. Stars became streams of light. They were moving faster than light speed, but in a way that didn't require traditional hyperspace travel. "Quantum phase travel," Hayes explained. "We slip between dimensions rather than traveling through normal space, much faster than Federation hyperdrives." They arrived at their destination in minutes. Morrison looked at the main screen and felt his enhanced mind struggle to process what he was seeing. An entire star system was being consumed. Planets, moons, asteroids, even the star itself were being drained of matter and energy by massive, dark entities. "The Devourers feed on the quantum energy that holds matter together," Rodriguez said. "When they're finished, there's nothing left but empty space." Morrison watched worlds die. Billions of beings simply ceased to exist as the dark shapes touched their planets. "How many galaxies have they destroyed?" Chang asked. "3 that we know of," Hayes said. "They move from galaxy to galaxy like locusts. They consume everything, and then move on." Cooper studied the tactical display. "How long until they reach Federation space?" 6 months for the main fleet," Hayes said. "But advanced scouts are already probing our defenses." Torres plotted their course back to Earth. "What's our next move?" Morrison made his decision. His enhanced consciousness could see patterns and possibilities that his normal mind never could have grasped. "We contact the Federation," he said. "We tell them the truth about Earth, all of it." Hayes looked concerned. "That's a huge risk. They might attack us out of fear." "Or they might listen," Morrison said, "because the alternative is watching their entire civilization disappear." As they traveled back to Earth, Morrison used his enhanced awareness to begin planning humanity's return to galactic society. It would be the most important diplomatic mission in the history of the galaxy. And if it failed, every living thing in the Milky Way would face the same fate as the worlds they had just watched die. Morrison stood in the Federation Council chambers on the capital world of Nexus Prime. Representatives from 47 different species filled the curved rows of seats. The air buzzed with tension and fear. He could sense their emotions through his enhanced consciousness. Panic from the Altarians, anger from the Centauri delegates, disbelief from the Vegan representatives, all of them struggling to process what he had just told them. "You claim that humans have been alive on Earth for 2 centuries, said Chancellor Vex, the Altarian who led the council. "You say you've been secretly influencing galactic affairs, and now you want us to trust you to save us from these devourers." Morrison nodded. "That's correct, Chancellor." "Impossible," declared Senator Krell from Centauri Prime. "We have records of the plague that killed all humans. We have sensor readings from ships that approached Earth and were destroyed." Chang stepped forward. Her enhanced mind could process the Council's database in real time through the chambers. "Computer systems." "Senator Krell, those ships weren't destroyed," she said. "They were captured, and their crews relocated to colony worlds. We have records of every person who was supposedly killed approaching Earth. They're all alive and living under new identities throughout the galaxy." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives shouted in dozens of languages. Morrison could feel their fear and confusion like physical pressure. Torres activated a holographic display. Images appeared above the chamber showing Federation worlds and the covert human operations that had taken place on each one. "The Zaytan plague that threatened to destroy 3 systems 20 years ago," Torres said. "Human agents introduced the cure by contaminating water supplies on affected worlds." More images appeared. The Vegan Civil War that ended suddenly 15 years ago, human negotiators working behind the scenes convinced both sides to make peace. Cooper added his own evidence. The terrorist attacks on Federation shipping lanes. Every major attempt was stopped by human agents who had infiltrated the criminal organizations. Chancellor Vex studied the images carefully. Even if this is true, it proves you've been manipulating us for centuries. Why should we trust you now? Morrison felt the weight of the moment. Everything depended on his next words. Because we didn't have to reveal ourselves at all, he said. We could have stayed hidden and protected ourselves when the Devourers arrive. We're here because we believe every species in this galaxy deserves a chance to survive. Or because you need our help to fight them. Senator Krell said, We do need your help, Morrison admitted. But not in the way you think. Rodriguez's voice came through the chamber's communication system from Earth. Council members, I'm transmitting tactical data on the Devourer threat. New holograms appeared. They showed the massive Devourer fleet moving through space toward the galaxy. Current Federation technology cannot harm these entities. Rodriguez continued. They exist partially outside normal space-time. Only quantum consciousness weapons can affect them. Chang analyzed the data for the Council. The Devourers consume the quantum energy that holds matter together. Normal weapons pass right through them. What exactly are you proposing? Asked Delegate Tharn from Proxima Station. Morrison had hoped this moment wouldn't come so soon. But the Council needed to understand the full scope of what they faced. Consciousness enhancement, he said. Every species in the Federation needs volunteers to undergo the same process we experienced. The chamber fell silent. Morrison could feel the horror and rejection radiating from most of the representatives. You want to turn us into something else? Chancellor Vex said quietly. We want to give you the tools to survive, Morrison replied. The enhancement doesn't change who you are. It makes you more capable of being who you already are. Senator Krell stood up. This is exactly what we feared when humans first developed. This technology. You want to remake the galaxy in your image. Cooper activated his own holographic display. Senator, with respect, look at the alternative. The images showed the destroyed star systems they had witnessed. Entire civilizations, reduced to empty space. This is what happens to species that can't fight the Devourers, Cooper said. They simply cease to exist. Delegate Tharn studied the tactical data carefully. How many enhanced individuals would we need? Torres had already calculated the answer. For a galaxy-wide defense network, approximately 10,000 enhanced consciousness operators. Volunteers from every major species. And if some species refuse to participate? Chancellor Vex asked. Morrison felt the cold logic of his enhanced mind calculating probabilities. Then we protect who we can and mourn those we can't save. A new voice entered the discussion. Admiral Zhang of the Federation Defense Force appeared as a hologram. Council members, I've just received confirmation of another Devourer attack. The entire Balanas system has been consumed. 12 billion beings are dead. The chamber erupted again. Representatives demanded action, answers, protection. Morrison could feel their growing desperation. How long do we have to decide? Chancellor Vex asked. The advanced Devourer scouts will reach the outer Federation worlds in 4 months, Admiral Zhang reported. The main fleet arrives in 6 months. Chang addressed the Council directly. The enhancement process takes 6 hours per individual. Training requires another 2 weeks. We need to start immediately. Senator Krell shook his head. We need time to study this technology, to understand the risks. Senator, time is what we don't have, Morrison said. Every day we delay is another day closer to extinction. Torres transmitted a new set of data. These are the enhanced humans currently living among you. They've been part of your societies for decades. The holographic display showed Federation citizens on dozens of worlds. Doctors, teachers, engineers, artists. all of them human agents who had been living normal lives while secretly protecting their adopted civilizations. Your own security. Chief on Centauri Prime is enhanced human, Torres continued. She's prevented 17 major disasters over the past 10 years. Senator Krell looked stunned. Chief Martinez is human? Enhanced human, Chang corrected. She chose to dedicate her life to protecting your world. Chancellor Vex stood up slowly. We need to vote on this proposal. All in favor of beginning voluntary consciousness enhancement trials. Morrison watched the voting display with his enhanced perception. He could see the quantum patterns that influenced each representative's decision. Fear, hope, desperation, and courage all mixing together. The vote was close. 24 in favor, 23 opposed. The motion passes, Chancellor Vex announced. We will begin limited trials of consciousness enhancement technology. Morrison felt relief flow through his enhanced awareness. It wasn't a complete victory, but it was a beginning. Chancellor, we'll need to establish enhancement facilities on major Federation worlds, Rodriguez said through the communication system. And we'll need to coordinate training for enhanced operators, Cooper added. Torres was already plotting logistics. Transport ships, equipment, personnel. This will be the largest cooperative effort in galactic history. Morrison looked around. The chamber at the representatives from dozens of different species. Some looked hopeful. Others appeared terrified. All of them were trying to process the reality that their galaxy was about to change forever. Council members, Morrison said, I know this is frightening, but I promise you this. Enhanced humans have spent 2 centuries learning to use this technology responsibly. We'll help every volunteer maintain their essential self while gaining the power to protect what they love. Chancellor Vex nodded slowly. Begin the enhancement program. And may the ancestors of all our species watch over us. As the council session ended, Morrison felt the weight of what they had accomplished. For the first time in 200 years, humanity was working openly with the galaxy's other species. Now they just had to hope it would be enough to stop the devourers. 3 months had passed since the Federation Council's vote. Morrison stood on the observation deck of Haven Station, the largest enhancement facility in Federation space. Below him, representatives from 30 different species worked together, preparing for the coming war. The station orbited Nexus Prime and had been constructed using combined human and Federation technology. Enhancement chambers filled entire sections of the structure. Training facilities occupied massive compartments. Quantum weapons manufacturing bays operated around the clock. Chang approached, carrying a data pad filled with statistics. Her enhanced consciousness processed the information faster than any computer. Current enhancement numbers, she reported. 8,743 volunteers from 42 species. Training completion rate at 91%. Morrison nodded. The numbers were better than they had hoped, but still not enough for complete galactic coverage. How many species are still refusing to participate? He asked. 5 major civilizations, Chang replied. The Andromedans, the Rigel Collective, the Tau Ceti Federation, the Vega Alliance, and the Outer Rim Confederacy. Torres joined them at the observation window. She had been coordinating defense networks across the galaxy. The refusing species control approximately 30% of inhabited systems, she said. If the Devourers reach their space, we won't be able to protect them. Cooper arrived with Admiral Zhang and Commander Hayes. They had been reviewing tactical preparations. Fleet deployment is proceeding on schedule, Admiral Zhang reported. Combined human Federation forces are taking position at key strategic points throughout the galaxy. Hayes activated a holographic display showing the current defensive grid. We have enhanced consciousness operators stationed on every major world. The quantum communication network is fully operational. Morrison studied the tactical display. His enhanced mind could see the patterns and weak points in their defenses. What about the Outer Rim territories? He asked. That's where we have problems, Cooper said. The species that refused enhancement control most of the galaxy's outer boundaries. When the Devourers arrive, they'll hit those areas first. Chang accessed the latest intelligence reports. Devourer advanced scouts have been detected in 3 outer rim systems. All contact with those systems has been lost. Torres overlaid additional data on the holographic display. At current rate of advance, the main Devourer fleet will reach the outer rim in 6 weeks. Admiral Zhang looked grim. We need to make one final attempt to convince the holdout species. They've refused all previous diplomatic contact, Hayes said. They're convinced that enhancement is a human plot to control the galaxy. Morrison made a decision. Then we show them what happens to unenhanced worlds when Devourers arrive. You want to take them to observe an active Devourer attack? Cooper asked. No, Morrison said. We're going to defend an outer rim world. Let them see enhanced consciousness in action. Chang checked the latest intelligence reports. The Rigel Collective has a major colony world called New Rigel. It's directly in the path of the advancing Devourer scouts. Perfect, Morrison said. We'll make our stand there. Admiral Zhang looked concerned. Captain, defending New Rigel will require revealing our full capabilities. If we succeed, every species in the galaxy will know exactly how powerful enhanced humans have become. Morrison felt the weight of the decision through his enhanced awareness, but the logic was clear. Admiral, if we don't succeed, there won't be a galaxy left to worry about. 12 hours later, Morrison led a combined fleet toward New Rigel. The E-Force included enhanced human vessels, upgraded Federation ships, and volunteers from 30 different species. The planet itself was beautiful. Blue oceans, green continents, white polar caps, home to 8 million Rigelians who had refused all offers of enhancement or evacuation. Chang monitored the approaching Devourer scouts from her science station. Contact in 4 hours. 3 entities, each approximately 5 kilometers in diameter. Torres coordinated the defensive fleet positions. All ships are in position. Enhanced Consciousness Network is active and synchronized. Cooper reviewed weapon status. Quantum disruption weapons are charged and ready. All enhanced operators report normal consciousness integration. Morrison could feel the mental connections linking every enhanced individual in the fleet. Thousands of minds working as one coordinated intelligence. Commander Hayes led the Rigelian delegation aboard Morrison's ship. The alien representatives looked nervous and skeptical. Captain Morrison, said Premier Zahn of the Rigel Collective, we appreciate your offer of protection, but we don't understand why you're risking your ships for our world. Morrison turned to face the Rigelian leader. Premier, we're not risking our ships. We're demonstrating what enhanced consciousness can accomplish when species work together. Chang's sensors detected the Devourer scouts entering the star system. Contact confirmed. 3 entities moving at sublight speed toward New Rigel. The main view screen showed the approaching threats, dark shapes that seemed to absorb light itself. As they moved, space around them appeared to twist and bend. What are those things? Asked Delegate Korth, another Rigelian representative. Living, quantum entities, Hayes explained. They consume the energy that holds matter together. Normal weapons can't affect them because they exist partially outside our dimension. Torres tracked the entity's approach. Estimated arrival at New Rigel in 37 minutes. Morrison opened the fleet communication channel. All enhanced consciousness operators prepare for quantum synchronization. Across the fleet, thousands of enhanced minds began linking together. Morrison felt his awareness expand to include every pilot, gunner, and tactical officer in the defensive force. The Rigelian delegates watched in amazement as the combined fleet began moving with perfect coordination. Ships that had been operating independently suddenly flew in formation patterns that seemed impossible. How are they doing that? Premier Zahn asked. Enhanced consciousness allows direct mind-to-mind communication, Chang explained. Every person, in our fleet is sharing thoughts and intentions in real time. Cooper monitored weapon systems across the entire fleet through his neural interface. All quantum disruption weapons are synchronized and ready. The Devourer scouts reached the outer edge of the star system. Immediately, space around them began to change. Stars dimmed. Matter itself seemed to lose cohesion. They're beginning. The consumption process, Hayes said. If we don't stop them now, they'll drain the entire system within hours. Morrison gave the order through the consciousness network. All ships, engage targets. The combined fleet opened fire with weapons unlike anything the Rigelians had ever seen. Beams of pure quantum energy reached across space and struck the Devourer. Scouts. For the first time, the dark entities reacted. Their smooth advance stopped. The twisting effect around them began to weaken. Direct hits on all 3 targets, Cooper reported. Quantum disruption weapons are affecting their dimensional stability, but the Devourers adapted quickly. They began splitting into smaller entities, making them harder to target. Morrison felt the tactical situation through the consciousness network. All ships, implement pattern Delta 7. The fleet's formation changed instantly. Ships moved to surround the Devourer scouts from multiple angles. The enhanced consciousness network calculated firing solutions faster than any computer. Incredible, whispered Delegate Korth. Your ships are moving like parts of a single organism. Torres coordinated the complex maneuver through her enhanced awareness. Pattern Delta 7 complete. All targets are surrounded. The second wave of quantum weapons fire struck the Devourers from 6 different directions simultaneously. The combined assault overwhelmed their adaptive defenses. One by one, the dark entities began to collapse. Their quantum structure destabilized, and they imploded into nothingness. All targets destroyed, Cooper announced. The Rigelian delegates stared at the tactical display in shock. The entire battle had lasted less than 10 minutes. Premier Zahn turned to Morrison. Your technology can actually destroy these things. Enhanced. Consciousness technology, Morrison corrected, which we're offering to share with every species in the galaxy. Chang showed the delegates detailed sensor readings from the battle. Normal weapons would have passed harmlessly through the Devourers. Only quantum disruption weapons guided by enhanced consciousness can affect them. Hayes added the sobering reality. What you just witnessed was a small scouting force. The main Devourer fleet has millions of entities, many of them much larger than these scouts. Premier Zahn looked at his fellow delegates. Morrison could see them struggling with the implications. How many enhanced operators would the Rigel Collective need to defend our territory? Premier Zahn asked. Torres had already calculated the answer. For full coverage of Rigelian space, approximately 300 enhanced consciousness operators. And the enhancement process would change our people how exactly? Delegate Korth asked. Morrison answered honestly. They would remain Rigelian in every way that matters, but they would gain the ability to think faster, interface with quantum technology, and connect with other enhanced minds. Premier Zahn made his decision. We'll need to discuss this with our full government. Morrison stood in the command center of Unity Station, the massive space platform that served as headquarters for the Galactic Defense Network. Through the observation windows, he could see the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. 12,000 ships from 47 different species hung in formation around the station. Each vessel had been equipped with quantum disruption weapons and carried enhanced consciousness operators from multiple worlds. Fleet status report, Morrison requested. Torres materialized as a hologram from her position aboard the command ship. All sectors report ready, Captain. Enhanced Consciousness Network is operating at full capacity across the galaxy. Chang appeared on another display from the science vessel Discovery. Final count is 14,612 enhanced operators distributed across key defensive positions. Cooper's image joined them from the tactical command ship Defender. Quantum weapons are charged and synchronized, all enhanced. Pilots report full integration with their vessels. Morrison felt the vast consciousness network that now linked enhanced beings across the entire galaxy. It was like being part of a single massive mind that stretched across hundreds of star systems. Admiral Zhang entered the command center carrying the latest intelligence reports. Captain, our long-range sensors have detected the main Devourer fleet. They'll reach the outer rim in 18 hours. Hayes activated the main display screen. The image showed a section of space that had been completely dark. As they watched, stars began disappearing one by one. The Devourer main fleet, Hayes said quietly. Preliminary count suggests over 2 million entities, some of them larger than space stations. Rodriguez's voice came through the communication system from Earth. Analysis confirms these are the largest Devourers we've ever detected. Some of the primary entities are over 50 kilometers in diameter. Morrison studied the tactical display with his enhanced perception. Estimated time until they reach populated systems? Torres ran the calculations. First contact with outer rim colonies in 26 hours. Core Federation worlds will be threatened within 1 week. What's the status of the non-enhanced species? Morrison asked. Admiral Zhang looked grim. The Andromedans and Outer Rim Confederacy are evacuating their frontier worlds. The Tau Ceti Federation has requested emergency enhancement for their defense forces. Chang monitored the evacuation efforts through the consciousness network. Current estimates suggest we can save approximately 60% of the population from non-enhanced territories. Morrison felt the weight of responsibility for billions of lives. Through the enhanced consciousness network, he could sense the fear and determination of operators across the galaxy. All enhanced consciousness operators, this is Captain Morrison. The time has come to defend everything we hold dear. Remember your training, trust in the network, fight as one mind across 1,000 worlds. The response came back through the consciousness network. 14,000 enhanced minds acknowledging his words with absolute unity of purpose. 18 hours later, the first Devourer entities reached the outer rim of the galaxy. Morrison watched the battle unfold through the enhanced consciousness network. Lieutenant Sarah Kim, commanding the Outer Rim Defense Post Sentinel-7, engaged the first wave of entities. Her enhanced mind coordinated 300 ships in a complex defensive pattern. Contact with advanced Devourers, Kim reported through the network. Beginning engagement. Morrison felt the battle through the consciousness link. Quantum weapons, fired in perfect synchronization as enhanced pilots guided their ships through impossible maneuvers. The first wave of Devourers was destroyed, but immediately more entities appeared. These were larger and more resistant to quantum disruption weapons. They're adapting to our weapons, Cooper reported from his tactical position. The larger entities are developing defensive barriers. Rodriguez transmitted new weapon configurations from Earth, recalibrating quantum frequencies. All operators should implement pattern Omega-9. Across the galaxy, enhanced consciousness operators instantly received and implemented the new tactical patterns. The consciousness network allowed real-time adaptation of strategies based on battlefield conditions. Pattern Omega-9 is effective, reported Commander Lisa Barnes from the Perseus Arm defense line. Large entities are vulnerable to concentrated multi-frequency assault. But the Devourers continued to adapt. As the battle progressed, they began splitting into smaller, more numerous entities that were harder to target. Chang analyzed the new threat pattern. They're learning from each engagement. The entities are sharing tactical information across their entire fleet. Morrison realized the Devourers had their own form of collective consciousness. They're fighting as a unified intelligence, just like we are. Torres coordinated defensive positions across multiple star systems. Captain, we're holding the outer rim but taking heavy losses. Enhanced operators are reporting mental fatigue from extended consciousness network usage. Morrison felt the strain himself. Maintaining the galactic consciousness network required enormous mental energy from every enhanced individual. Rotate operators on 4-hour shifts, Morrison ordered. We need to maintain the network at full strength. The battle continued for 3 days. Enhanced consciousness operators fought desperately to hold the outer rim while evacuation ships rescued civilians from threatened worlds. On the 4th day, the largest Devourer entities reached the Middle Rim territories. These creatures were unlike anything the defenders had faced before. "Captain, the primary entities are over 100 kilometers in diameter," reported Major Jack Stone from the Centauri defense platform. "Our standard quantum weapons aren't penetrating their outer barriers." Morrison made a critical decision. All consciousness network operators prepare for Unified Assault Pattern Alpha 1. Alpha 1 was the most dangerous tactic they had developed. It required every enhanced consciousness in the galaxy to link together into a single massive mind. The mental strain could potentially kill thousands of operators. "Captain, Alpha 1 has never been tested at this scale," Hayes warned. "We could lose the entire consciousness network. If we don't try, we'll lose everything anyway," Morrison replied. Across the galaxy, 14,000 enhanced minds began linking together with unprecedented intensity. Morrison felt his individual consciousness merging into something vastly larger. The unified galactic mind focused its attention on the largest Devourer entities. Every quantum weapon in the defensive fleet fired simultaneously, guided by the combined intelligence of enhanced consciousness operators from 47 different species. The assault overwhelmed the Devourer's adaptive defenses. One by one, the massive entities began collapsing as their quantum structure destabilized, but the effort came at a terrible cost. Morrison felt enhanced operators across the galaxy collapsing from mental exhaustion. The consciousness network began fragmenting as minds reached their breaking point. "Network integrity failing," Torres reported weakly. "We're losing operators to consciousness burnout." Morrison realized they had one chance left. All remaining operators, full withdrawal to core worlds. Implement Final Defense Protocol Omega Zero. Omega Zero was their last resort. Every remaining enhanced consciousness operator would link together for a final assault on the Devourer command entities. Success would destroy the enemy fleet. Failure would mean the end of galactic civilization. As the surviving ships fell back toward the core worlds, Morrison prepared for humanity's final gamble. The enhanced consciousness network that had taken centuries to develop would be risked in one desperate attempt to save the galaxy. Through his enhanced awareness, Morrison could feel the determination of every remaining operator. They would fight, to the end, no matter the cost. The fate of every living thing in the galaxy now depended on the next few hours. Morrison felt the consciousness network stabilizing as the surviving operators reached the core worlds. Of the original 14,000 enhanced beings, only 8,000 remained capable of maintaining the mental link. Earth hung before them, like a blue jewel surrounded by the most advanced defensive grid ever constructed. Hundreds of thousands of quantum weapons platforms formed concentric shells around humanity's homeworld. "Final defensive positions confirmed," Torres reported through the consciousness network. "All remaining enhanced operators are linked and ready." Chang monitored the approaching Devourer fleet through quantum sensors. "Main enemy force will reach Earth's orbital zone in 6 hours. Confirmed count of 1.7 million entities." Cooper coordinated the weapon systems across Earth's entire defensive grid. "All quantum disruption weapons are synchronized to the consciousness network. We're as ready as we can be." Morrison opened his awareness to the full consciousness network. 8,000 enhanced minds from dozens of species linked together in perfect unity. He could feel their fear, their determination, and their absolute commitment to protecting the galaxy. "Enhanced consciousness operators across all species," Morrison broadcast through the network, "we stand at the final moment. Everything our civilizations have built, everything we love, depends on what we do in the next few hours." The response came back as a wave of unified resolve. No words were needed. Every enhanced being in the network shared the same purpose. Admiral Jang coordinated the conventional Federation forces from his command ship. Captain Morrison, all non-enhanced vessels have been moved to safe positions behind Earth's defensive grid. The battle is yours to command. Hayes activated the planet's surface defenses. Earth's quantum cannons are online and integrated into the consciousness network. The planet itself is now part of our defensive system. Rodriguez transmitted the final tactical analysis from her research center. The Devourer fleet has a hierarchical structure. Destroy the command entities and the rest will lose coordination. Morrison felt the truth of that analysis through his enhanced perception. The Devourer fleet was controlled by 12 massive entities, each over 200 kilometers in diameter. These command creatures directed the smaller Devourers through their own form of collective consciousness. All operators prepare for Protocol Omega Zero, Morrison announced. We're going to target the command entities directly. The consciousness network reconfigured itself for the final assault. 8,000 enhanced minds linked together with intensity that pushed the limits of what was possible. Through the view screen, Morrison watched the Devourer fleet emerge from hyperspace. The sight was terrifying. Millions of dark entities filled space around Earth's solar system. They moved with purpose and intelligence that had consumed 3 entire galaxies. Enemy fleet has entered engagement range, Cooper reported. Morrison felt the moment had arrived. All enhanced consciousness operators initiate Omega Zero. The combined consciousness network focused its attention on the 12 Devourer command entities. Every quantum weapon in Earth's defensive grid fired simultaneously, guided by the unified intelligence of 8,000 enhanced minds. The assault struck the command entities with unprecedented force. Their quantum barriers, which had resisted every previous attack, began to weaken under the concentrated assault, but the Devourers fought back. The smaller entities swarmed toward Earth's defensive platforms, overwhelming several positions through sheer numbers. We're taking heavy losses, Torres reported. The consciousness network is fragmenting under the assault. Morrison felt enhanced. Operators across the network being overwhelmed by the mental strain, but they couldn't stop now. Everything depended on destroying the command entities. Maintain focus on primary targets, Morrison ordered through the network. Ignore the smaller entities. The quantum weapons continued their relentless assault on the Devourer commanders. One by one, the massive entities began to destabilize. Their control over the smaller Devourers started to weaken. Chang monitored the enemy fleet through her enhanced awareness. Command entity destruction is causing chaos in their ranks. The smaller Devourers are losing coordination, but the cost was enormous. Morrison could feel enhanced consciousness operators collapsing across the network as their minds reached the breaking point. Network integrity at 30%, Hayes reported. We're losing operators to consciousness burnout faster than we can compensate. Morrison made the hardest decision of his life. All Earth-based enhanced consciousness operators prepare for final protocol. This was humanity's ultimate sacrifice. Every enhanced human on Earth would link their consciousness directly to the planet's quantum field. The process would destroy their individual minds, but create a consciousness weapon powerful enough to eliminate the Devourer command entities. Captain, you don't have to do this, Rodriguez said through the communication system. We can find another way. There is no other way, Morrison replied. And humanity has always been willing to sacrifice for the greater good. Across Earth's surface, enhanced humans began the final linkage process. Morrison felt their individual consciousnesses merging into something vast and powerful. Chang, Torres, and Cooper added their minds to the planetary consciousness. It's been an honor serving with you, Captain, Torres said as her individual awareness faded into the greater whole. Morrison was the last to link with Earth's quantum field. As his consciousness merged with the planet itself, he felt his individual identity dissolving. But in that moment of dissolution, he also felt something incredible. The combined consciousness of every enhanced being who had ever lived on Earth joined together into a single, unified intelligence. This planetary consciousness reached out through space and struck the remaining Devourer command entities with power beyond anything they had ever encountered. The command entities didn't just die. They were completely erased from existence, their quantum patterns permanently disrupted. Without their commanders, the remaining Devourer fleet lost all coordination. The smaller entities began turning on each other or simply drifting aimlessly through space. Admiral Zhang watched from his command ship as the Devourer threat simply collapsed. All enemy entities have ceased aggressive action. The fleet is dispersing. Across the galaxy, enhanced consciousness operators who had survived the battle felt the moment of victory through the fragmenting network. "It's over," whispered Lieutenant Kim from her position in the outer rim. "The Devourers are retreating, but the victory had come at a terrible price." Earth's surface was now home to a planetary consciousness that had absorbed the individual minds of every enhanced human on the world. Hayes, one of the few enhanced humans who had survived by remaining in orbit, established communication with the planetary consciousness. "Morrison, are you still there?" Hayes asked. The response came not as words, but as a feeling of peace and completion that filled the minds of every enhanced being in the galaxy. The planetary consciousness that had been Earth's enhanced humans would continue to protect the galaxy, but the individual people who had made that sacrifice were gone forever. In the months that followed, the galaxy began to rebuild. The remaining enhanced consciousness operators helped establish permanent defensive networks around every inhabited system. The Federation Council erected a memorial to humanity's sacrifice on every member world. But more importantly, they established schools to teach consciousness enhancement to any species that wanted to learn. Admiral Zhang, now commanding the Galactic Defense Forces, often visited Earth's orbital stations. He would look down at the beautiful planet and remember the humans who had given everything to save the galaxy. The planet itself had become humanity's final gift to the universe, a guardian consciousness that watched over every star system, ready to defend against any threat that might emerge from the dark spaces between galaxies. Earth was no longer off limits. It had become the most important world in the galaxy, not as a place where humans lived, but as the home of a consciousness dedicated to protecting all life. The signs around the Sol system had been changed. Instead of warning beacons, they now carried a simple message in every galactic language. Here stands the guardian of the galaxy. Here humanity made their final sacrifice for the freedom of all species. Here love conquered the darkness between the stars. Morrison's consciousness, now part of something infinitely larger, felt satisfaction in that simple truth. Humanity had found their purpose among the stars, not as conquerors or rulers, but as protectors of everything that lived and loved and hoped for the future. The galaxy was safe, and it would remain safe as long as Earth's guardian consciousness watched over the endless night of space.